The context of the ceremony is, therefore, an imaginary spatiality onto which hues of pastness have been painted. We can examine particularly the reconfiguration of the meaning of China within the global system of intelligibility, or the global regime of value-making. From here, we can delve into the genealogy in which history and geography have been intertwined by referring to the ceremony's cinematic precursor, The Road Home, created by the same director, Zhang Yimou, in 1999. The Road Home, like the ceremony, defines our lived environment, the present, from the perspective of pastness. The film is about a woman's life in a rural village during the 50s. It is structured as a complicated set of enfolded narrations. The mother's story has become part of local legend, and in this film, the old narrative is retold by the son. The movie opens as the son travels back to the village after the news that his father, who has been a teacher in the village for many years, has died. His mother is insisting on a traditional funeral procession in which the father's body would be carried back from the distant hospital to the village by hand. The village mayor says that because all the young people have moved to the cities, there is no one left to carry the casket. At the end of the film, the son comes around to his mother's way of thinking and agrees to insist on the ritual. In a warm, sentimental ending, former students, colleagues, and friends from all over the region hear of the procession and come to pay their last respects. The film ends with images of this restored sense of community brought back by a rural ritual. In this sense, The Road Home makes an argument about the importance of ritual in structuring the way the past is experienced in contemporary China. In the movie, the mother's point of view is that of the mythical, historical, eternal peasant. When her apparently irrational determination is deciphered, it turns out to present a pseudo-genealogy that explains why the past is relevant. We come to understand that pastness still remains vital to ordering one's present condition. The insertion of the son's gaze also functions as a cinematic apparatus to introduce the global gaze into the film's world. The son, as well as the audience, comes to understand that his mother's life and the meanings of the ritual she clings to. Through repeating an apparently pointless rite, the son finds a connection to his mother's story. This sentimental ending also works for the viewer, who comes to feel that through watching the movie, they have gained insight into a seemingly lost Chinese culture. The viewer feels gratifyingly connected to a pastness that beforehand had seemed erased and lost. In this point, the whole theme of the film is devoted to the cinematic visual transmission of a local ritualistic life into the global regime of intelligibility. The film thus centers around the translation of the local into the global, a translation which gives a new meaning to old ritual practices. In short, the film's hidden theme is about how to subsume locality into visibility, how the local rituals can be rendered intelligible through being revealed by the global circulation of vision. The connections of the viewer feels to the community created in The Road Home might feel to a Western viewer in particular as if he or she is involved in the community being created. However, it is only the intervention of the globalized point of view that enables that vicarious connection. In Cosmopolitan and the Geographies of Freedom, David Harvey writes, the production of space, in short, proceeds alongside of, as well as through, the production of places. In Harvey's context, the film is about the production of locality in the global space of consumption. Watching The Road Home, even a Western audience feels as if they are witnessing the revelation of authenticity, but the voyeuristic pleasure inevitably entailed in the visual experience nonetheless confirms that this experience of authenticity is feasible only in the context of commodification. That experience is created by, as Harvey writes, the dialectical character of this space-place connection. The experience of authenticity that seems to characterize the local is actually an encounter with the global regime of value-making. While The Road Home, as a mere film, succeeds in marketing an image of Chinese identity, both internally and externally, the filmic version of the Beijing Olympics and the event itself should not be seen as the expression of genuine cultural heritage, but is a much more profound act of cultural formation. The Olympics here function as a ritual. The product of that ritual is the formation of a new identity that circulates in the global marketplace. While the NBC commentators watch the movable type dancers, a clip we'll show in a moment, one exclaims, "Again, the reconciling of opposite," and the other replies, "Absolutely," and again the desire to replace one image of China with another one. Included on the official DVD, this exchange goes to the heart of how this event is marketed. Through the lens of the ceremony, Beijing has become a site both global and local, fashionably contemporary as well as charmingly quaint. We want to look at the opening ceremony as a spatial extension of a nostalgia film. The ceremony and nostalgia film are similar, in both cases evoking a past experienced as authentic, while functioning entirely within a globalized logic. The opening ceremony is structured as a series of parallax. Human and machine, the past and present, virtual and real, are brought into a relationship that defies their conventional oppositions. Instead, the ceremony opens up a space of connection in which these oppositions are, at least apparently, reconciled. In the Parallax View, Slavoj Žižek found a traumatic kernel of fundamental antagonism, binding the disparate visions of the villagers into a whole. This same traumatic kernel also forms the antagonistic oppositions of the opening ceremony into a single spectacle which appears united.